Before we jump into today's topic, a quick disclaimer. The stories and data we share come from the states that we practice in and the experiences that we personally had, which can differ greatly across our country and certainly the globe. This is not a professional advice show. So let's get comfy and talk about death.
Hello and welcome to Mort Mike,
a down-to-earth discussion on death and dying.
I'm Brandy.
I'm Sierra.
And I'm Red, and we're your graveside gossipers for today's episode. Come closer, my children.
Oh no.
I was going to say you can genuinely cough.
I can actually make this happen right now. I've not much longer for this world. Gather round, for I have such tales to tell you of my life's adventures. So there Grandma was, barbecue sauce on her titties.
Oh, God.
Grandma.
Bring back Vine. TikTok doesn't hit the same.
Oh, gosh. Well, today, death. What about the impending doom of one's own timeline opens up the floodgates of honesty? Maybe it's the cocktail of neurotransmitters and medications, or one last ditch to clear one's consciousness to get into a favored afterlife. But either here or there, today we're going to share some of the most intriguing stories told on deathbeds.
Dun, dun, dun.
I could not believe how many of these, because I'm sure people have probably heard, like, oh, a murderer confesses on deathbed to crime done 30 years ago that they got away with type of thing. But, like, there are so many people that have stories about this. Like, it's a lot. People be doing fuck shit.
I tried to rack my brain to see if I had anything, and I was like, I can't think of anything personal or that I've really read besides, like, yeah, what you said. But I can't believe how many people actually, like, had stories to submit for this.
Yeah, we were very lucky that our listeners delivered upon the call to action. So we have a wealth of stories that were submitted to us on this topic, and they're just too good not to share with you guys. So a lot of these are going to be paraphrased. We tried to keep things as close as possible to the original either comment or message. But of course, personal details have been omitted for the privacy of our listeners and their families, because some of this stuff is fucking wild.
Dox them all. All right. I'm itching to know. I am desperate to know what's up first.
All right. So it's a short one. It's just a quick message. We didn't get a full story on this one, but I had to put my phone down for a second and reconsider some life things. So one of our listeners had sent me a message. I haven't gotten the full context yet, but from my brother. But there's a story from him when he was a CNA for about 5 or 6 years in a nursing home. I haven't gotten the full context yet, but there's one that was a confession to murder, and the other was a grandma with her secret ingredient in her potato salad, which was a bit of her own blood. She would put her own blood into the special potato salad recipe.
No.
Like, what the fuck?
Salty, maybe?
I guess a little bit of iron for the deficient. Like,
I mean...
Not if she herself was iron deficient.
Yeah, or, I guess how? Do you think she, I don't know, did some, Mojo Jojo pricked the finger and put the blood in the salad and now it's complete.
Oh my god.
Or is it
I hope that's what it was, like a ritual.
Yeah, right? I'm hoping that's the context, because I'm thinking of other ways that you could do this and I'm not liking my thought process.
You know, they use paprika on the top of deviled eggs.
Okay.
Oh,
like a sprinkle,
maybe she was like this seal, and she'd squeeze her pricked finger over top, and she'd be like, this here seals the potato salad for this year's Thanksgiving. This makes Thanksgiving complete.
Oh, it brings the family together. We're closer, because I'm inside you, literally.
Oh, right. That's what I was thinking, right? Where it's is she trying to pass on her life force slowly to her family, over time?
Maybe.
Through the mayonnaise.
I feel like this also worked for our cannibalism episode. Technically.
Yeah, wait. If your family's eating your blood and it's in a potato salad and they don't know about it, does it count as cannibalism?
100%.
I feel like it has to, right? Like,
Whether
logistically,
you know
yes.
about it or not, it is still cannibalism.
Right.
Which, depending on what she used for the mayonnaise, it might have been vegan. Might be vegan potato salad.
I guess if her family knew, then I guess, right?
Oh my
okay.
God, that's so
Yeah,
bad.
nobody said that veganism needed to be consensual.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. That's a good... You know what? You bring up another good point.
We cannot get into this debate.
I know.
again.
We can't do it again.
That's crazy.
Everybody's like,
though.
shut the fuck up about cannibalism.
I would be very, very irritated with my grandma if I
Yeah.
found that out.
I don't think I'd be okay.
I fucking love potato
It depends on
salad.
which grandma. Like, if it was my dad's, like, mom, I would be kind of pissed off because she was cool, but she was a little bit weird, you know, like, lived in Indiana, a little strange. But if it was, like, my nana, like, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. You
I
know?
started considering maybe some nursing homes after learning that, but yeah. Well, I feel like I've heard this story from people before too, where it's like, oh, I was like, I think, well, it's either my ex or who gives a shit at this point, but was saying that like, yeah, they were chopping up ingredients for like a salsa and like just cut the tip of their finger off on accident, but didn't like fish it out and still served it to friends. And I'm like, so how much unintended cannibalism is happening without people knowing? You know what I
Probably
mean?
a lot.
I think we found like a lot, unfortunately.
Or fortunately, if you're into that.
Yeah, you.
I'm not. Wait, I am. Maybe. I don't know. It depends on which, like, friend. Like, I don't know.
No, like, what do
is
they
it a
say?
friend that washes their hands enough and then I'm eating that finger?
You
it's
can't
okay?
eat at everybody's house. You just
That's
can't.
true.
And you
That's
shouldn't.
real.
And if somebody's missing the tip of their finger, I now will never eat at their house. That's for sure.
Can't trust like that.
Well, you ever think
Can't
about, like, the
trust like that.
bartenders that always have the Band-Aids on their fingers?
Ew.
Oh, that is true, right?
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know that you don't have one of those little finger condoms on that Band-Aid.
Yeah.
I know you don't.
Honestly, that's super true. I never really thought about that before
Mm-hmm.
because, like, yeah, even when I worked in like a kitchen before, like, you were just always covered in cuts and burns and all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and your skin's just raw from scrubbing it all the time,
right,
dipping your
If
nose
you
in
even
water.
scrub it.
Ooh.
yeah.
There's some really gross stuff.
I'm becoming so agoraphobic already. This is just gonna push me.
Oh my god, do you want me to make it worse for you? There's this,
No.
hold on. This is so gross. This is
My
it's almost on
OCD is
topic,
so
but
bad,
it's
Sierra.
close. Buckle in, baby. There's this Italian restaurant in the city that I live in, and it shares a back wall with one of the places I used to work, or like a alleyway, I guess. And we put cameras up in the alleyway because like our lock didn't super work or whatever. I don't know. The
Oh,
owner
awesome.
was like a cool dude, but he liked using tech a lot. Anyway, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when a certain cook worked, it was like fucking clockwork, dude. He would go out, he would pee, and he probably had some prostate issues because it was not a very strong stream, and he did it every like 25 minutes. He would go out there, have a smoke, and have his wiener in his other hand and just piss in the back alley. But like, this isn't like a back alley that's like closed off. Like,
Anybody could just be
anybody
walking
could just walk by
through.
and just be like, oh, that dude's pissing, you know? But anyway, the owner of the store that I worked at didn't do what I would have done, and he never told the restaurant. So that guy probably still works there.
Ew, dude. What
Yeah.
the fuck?
So maybe it's not blood, but maybe it's pee-pee.
Whereas pee? Like, that's
Worse.
so crazy. Like,
Pesto.
All right, blood or
doing
pee-pee,
more pee.
which is worse?
Way more pee. Way more pee than work. What is this? What is this?
Yeah,
No one like
your
really
pee to
noticed
work
like
ratio is incredible.
the
honestly.
pee to work ratio.
You know, your boss is paying for those gallons you're
15-minute
producing. You know,
pisses.
that is so fucking gross. Anyway, if you are eating at a restaurant and it tastes a little salty, might not be the salt.
Might be grandma's blood.
Might be
Or-
dick hand.
Yeah, or it might be dick sweat.
Dick sweat.
Could be
I
either
want to
or.
think about that being a term that is in my colloquialisms now, please.
You're welcome.
Well, what did you guys maybe hear from some of our listeners or some other stories?
Oh, what? Do you want to move on from that topic or something?
There might be a part
Maybe
of me
I
that's
can-
done with it.
Maybe I can provide some reprieve. All right, so we've got a personal family story. This one says, for years, I grew up with the understanding that my grandfather was my grandfather. Oh, juicy already. All right.
Yes. Ooh.
We're about to get in that Maury territory.
Oh, big
Heyo.
time. Oh, God, please let there be DNA results. All right, so he's the man that I visited. He was the person who showed up to my birthdays, all the things you'd expect a grandfather to do. Great man, Army vet, yada, yada, yada. He passed away when I was in my late teens, leaving my grandmother behind. They previously separated, but both still showed up to family reunions. So fast forward to my early 20s, and I get a call one day to tell me that that was not my biological grandfather.
Okay.
My true biological grandfather had an affair with my grandmother, and they hid it from who I thought was my grandfather.
Dude.
All my father's siblings knew, but never told my father. And the kicker, despite my father looking like a carbon copy of his biological dad, he denied him being his son on his deathbed.
What the fuck,
Oh, what?
dude? That's
Wait,
So this is a
So-
reversal.
Yeah.
An
So, okay. So
unconfession.
they knew that, or I guess grandma knew that
Grandma knew.
dad wasn't, granddad's son, right? But
Yep.
then the actual, his actual dad who had an affair was like, nah, he ain't my son either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
Oh
his
my
fucking
God!
deathbed?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like he's standing right the fuck there, looking exactly
Because-
like him.
Yeah, because the not
This ain't
biological
mine.
grandfather was already passed away.
Yeah.
So this dude is straight up denying on his deathbed that he had this kid out of wedlock. Crazy.
do you think that you just have lived the lie so long that you're just like, fuck it? Maybe he started to believe in
Yeah.
himself or some type of shit. I don't know. That's fucked.
maybe he had his family that he was really, really worried about, and he just couldn't let go of that to make that final confession?
Yeah. Oh,
That's
shit, yeah.
crazy. Imagine being the dad and you're like, I don't have
Well, seriously, what a
know,
slap in the face.
Horrible. Well, and being the son too.
Yeah.
Now you have no dad.
Right.
Yeah. Ugh,
'Cause
horrible.
I'm sure that was probably enough, right? To you lose your dad, who you think is your dad, and then all of a sudden you're told oh, well, you actually have a biological father out there, and that kind of gives you that hope of oh, well,
Yep.
I do have more family, and maybe I can get to know my biological dad, and then just getting railroaded like that, nah, fuck that, you ain't my son. Are you serious?
Now I'm gonna cry.
That's heartbreaking. That's super fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's crazy.
I can only understand that type of behavior if the rest of his family was also around
Yeah.
the deathbed, and it's ooh, I don't want to make a big problem out of
But
this
they
for
apparently
everybody.
already
That's what
knew.
I
cause
think.
fights.
Because it says all of their father's siblings knew but never told him.
Yeah.
How did they know?
So,
Mom told all of this person's siblings, but
Yeah.
not him, which is bizarre.
Why would you do that?
Right.
That turns the siblings also to other this sibling. It's still your
Yeah.
sibling, whether or not. And if you're lying to everybody else, why would you tell them? And
it's
not
kind of
him?
impressive the siblings kept this secret, though, right? If I had a secret like that, and I think I would bully my sibling with it.
I wonder if that's what
when
happened.
the age-old prank of being no, you were adopted, mom and dad found you on the side of the road.
Right. Oh no, but then it's
Then you could be
actually got weight behind it.
yeah.
Oh,
Then you could
no.
be I know something you don't know.
I absolutely did
Every
that
time
to
you
my
play catch
sister.
with
So
dad, it's not your
Did you?
fucking dad. You know?
and she believed me.
God, I'm so glad I'm an only child. You two are menaces.
I am an only child. I'm an only child too. That's concerning.
You have this pent up rage for a sibling that doesn't exist.
I know. It'd be great. We would be terrors. I just watched this like true crime thing today. It was on TikTok, so it was in like 40 parts, whatever. But it was about this like these two kids, and they were doing exactly that, where they were like bullying their brother, and they were like, haha, you were adopted, because he's like a ginger and stuff. Apparently when he was like born, it was at this like weird like hippie thing or something, where like a whole bunch of women were getting together to have their babies together in this like, I don't know, beautiful event, blah blah blah, and they had midwives and stuff like that, whatever. And his mom's mom, so his grandma, on her deathbed, and nobody knows if this is, well, they claimed it wasn't true, and then they had a DNA test, and it turns out he was adopted, but he wasn't actually adopted. But her daughter had a stillborn, and she, during the commotion of all these women having these babies and stuff, and like trying to have this like weird mystic moment, stole another woman's child. And told that lady that she was the one that had the stillborn, and she told them on her deathbed, and everybody just thought she was crazy because she had Alzheimer's. And then they bought a DNA kit because they thought it was funny, and then the kid didn't have the same DNA.
What the fuck?
Yep, and he found his real parents.
Oh my god! So never trust a fucking hippie. I knew it.
So that was like it was a whole thing I saw.
That's wild,
dude. That's so insane. Imagine like this grief that this person had like all their life for like having a miscarriage, that they thought they had a miscarriage, and then the grief that happens when you find out that like you had a kid the whole time, and you missed out on their entire life.
Somebody's crazy hippie grandma stole it.
Did the mom know that grandma stole that baby? Like, did she ever find out, or she
found out when they did the DNA test. But she dead ass thought that kid was hers.
So upsetting too. Like, I mean, obviously for everybody, but like for that mom too, to be like, oh, I literally like don't have a kid now. Yeah. Technically,
what kind of sleight of hand checks do you have to make to steal a whole ass baby, though?
So you know what I'm saying? I feel like people would be very focused on what's coming out of what at that point, right? Unless there were like 100 people in a bathtub, not a bathtub, but like a pool or something.
Explained it. It was like everybody was in a pool. Or like in like a, not like a pool, like a lake or something. Like it was dumber. It was way unsanitary.
It does get dark under the water.
There's been switched at birth things at hospitals, so it does not surprise me even in the slightest that a bunch of hippies getting together is going to cause some confusion.
Well, but also, how you find that many people popping babies out at the same time?
For real.
You know?
Oh, that's actually, that does make it, the plot thickens.
I know. This feels like one of those like Reddit stories where it's like, you won't believe this. And then I go, yeah, you're right. I don't believe this. And it turns out it's a fake story, you know?
What a hell of a tale.
I love a good story. You know? It doesn't have to be true.
I love a good story.
We love Deathbed Confessionals.
That's crazy.
It should be a show.
Honestly, I feel like there's probably not. Well, while doing research for this, these episodes we're doing, there is a few different podcasts that focus on Deathbed Confessionals alone, which I thought was pretty interesting.
That's kind of sick.
Yeah. Also, there was like a book that I found and I started listening to where it's like some dude nurse was just recounting all the stories. And as he's telling him, like, there's no fucking way that this is, like, there's no way that these things are real. And I got my heart kind of broken when I looked it up, and it's like, these are not based on true events. These things didn't happen. I'm like, come on. I want some magic in the world, even if it's fucked up.
Yeah.
Just pretend. Go back to the time before you knew.
Right, exactly. Let's rewind the clock a little bit. So, Sierra, did you happen to hear any Deathbed Confessionals?
Oh my gosh. I am so glad that you asked, because I have a very, I don't want to say funny, but it's kind of funny.
Okay.
So buckle in. This one comes directly from a rehab facility worker. Okay. I had a resident who came in about 3 months prior to dying. They were really not doing well. If they wanted something, I'd get them whatever they wanted within my capabilities. I was on midnights and didn't have much to do, so if people were up and wanted to talk, I'd sit and talk with them. As their condition got really bad, they'd get more and more open with me. On their last night, their last leg, the other nurses kept saying that the resident is asking for you needing something. I bring them a water. They don't drink it. They just wanted to talk to me. They begin to admit that any chance that they could get when people weren't in the room, they would jork it. It happens. We're used to it. And then they admitted they would jork it to me. They died the next day. End statement.
Wow.
Oh.
What do you do?
Get
with
that out there.
information?
Say thank you and walk
do you
away.
say thank you? Is that like a thank you moment, or is that like a?
I think so.
I was gonna say it's a coming to Jesus, but with like a you.
Don't say.
Don't say come. Please don't say come.
Oh man, that's.
Yeah.
I feel like that's when you have to ask for payment, right? Like that costs extra.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean?
No,
well,
they're
I mean, they're dead though.
dying.
Like, write me in the will, I guess.
Whatever, you know. They're dying. They're gonna be gone tomorrow. Literally.
True.
Oh my god.
I don't know what I would do if I was in that situation and somebody was like, "Hey, I've been jorking it to you." I'd be like, first of all, why are you saying jork? Second of all,
Slay, grandma.
dog, hand me $20 or write me in the will. You know,
As long as they're not jerking it onto me, and you're doing it when no one's around. Thanks, homie.
that
I'm
is actually
flattered.
really nice. That's actually
Let
really
me
polite.
empty your cath real quick. Like, what?
Well, they're emptying something else too while you're at it. So, just kidding.
God.
Ugh.
No, that's where it goes too
That
far.
is actually, now that you say that, it's actually really respectful. That's really nice. You know, thank you for doing it while I wasn't in the room.
Yeah.
But then you have to ask yourself, it's like, are you sure? Are you sure nobody was in the
Right.
room? Or like, why are you telling me now? You know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if
jerking
you've
it
been at
still?
like a rehab facility for that long and you don't really have like access to a computer because you're like 90 and don't know how that shit works anyway to find Pornhub, like if that person is coming in and taking care of you every day, that's kind of what you see, right?
Yeah.
So, like it's like jerking it to the ceiling boob over the light.
sometimes you gotta,
Like,
dude.
you work with what you got. Yeah.
Country girls make do, man.
Yeah. What?
I'm just kidding. Well, that and like, I don't. So it said rehab facility worker. Was it like a hospice care situation? I assume, right?
Essentially, if my understanding is correct, like that's kind of what it is.
Okay.
Kind of a hospice, but like people could still
Maybe
get back out, but probably not type of thing.
I just because like when I heard rehab at first, I was like, where's this going? You know what I mean? I was like,
God.
like,
I stashed the coke and all the money in my gun in the bush outside.
yeah, literally. It's like the coke's in my foreskin. When I said jorkin, I meant something else. Like, you know, I was a little worried. So, yeah, a hospice makes more sense.
That is, people are so unique.
Craziness.
People are so creative.
People are so creative. They really are. But on a less goofy note, probably more on a serious one here. Who's got this next one?
So I'm excited to share this one, and just so I want everyone else to be able to enjoy this too. So when I put these notes in, I specifically had to put react to this with empathy. Please don't say kill grandpa, and then in parentheses Sierra. So this is how we leave notes for each other. So.
Yeah, I promise I won't, but maybe.
Maybe it'll
On
be
your
me.
best behavior.
Yeah, who knows?
That is true. I did not call Brandy out, so
Yeah, I didn't receive that instruction, so technically speaking, no, I'm ready.
Do it in my honor.
I'm feeling very empathetic.
okay. We are centered. We are full of empathy. So empathetic. My chakras are aligned.
Oh, perfect. Like the hippie mom.
Oh God.
Just kidding.
So this is another personal family story from one of our listeners. So I was in about 5th or 6th grade when my maternal grandfather passed away. He had dementia for a long time, and so we didn't have many moments of clarity with him nearing the end. And because I grew up here in Redacted, and my mom's family is deep in the Bible Belt, I hadn't gotten to know my grandfather's history very well at that time. He was in the hospital nearing the end when he had a few clear days, and my mom encouraged me to hang out with him on my own and record some of our conversations. I was very curious about my heritage at the time and was asking a lot of questions about what it was like for him to grow up. It was during this conversation that he asked me to turn off the tape recorder, which is a great sign, I'm sure.
Ruh-roh.
I did, and then he proceeded to tell me about how when he had grown up with a very open knowledge that his father, my great-grandfather, was a grand dragon in the Ku Klux Klan. He had grown up with both the traditional white hood and robe as well as the gold and black hood and robes in the front coat closet. Apparently in the area, it was very common to wear your sleeve with pride, so it took him a very long time to understand what it meant and even longer to deal with the shame surrounding it. My grandpa worked on the rails with a lot of other blue-collar men, and by the time that he was in the workforce, he worked alongside of a lot of black men, and through that, unlearned a lot of his prejudice to the folks of color.
Oh.
However, he told me through gritted teeth that I was never, ever to, quote-unquote, carry on with a black man, else I would be written out of my inheritance.
Oh.
He went on to wax at length about how he had such respect for black men, but how it would just break his heart if he ever had to see one of his daughters or granddaughters marry one, because he just couldn't abide any race mixing, that it was wrong and unnatural.
Ooh.
My mom came in and interrupted not long after that and realized what he had been talking about, and so she took me home, and in the car ride made it very clear that my grandpa, what my grandpa had said was true, but that we didn't have to continue to abide by the archaic beliefs he was raised on, and that we shouldn't. That our heritage meant that we have even more responsibility to try to build bridges and see people equally, and that really struck with me, and I really respect my mom for choosing to break free of a history with an ugly prejudice. He faded away from clarity not long after and died a few months following. That was my last conversation with him. It was confusing and hard to deal with such conflicting view as someone I cared for at a young age, but I also respect how it radicalized me in the opposite direction and has stayed with me and formed my beliefs and opinions. Hell yeah.
Nice.
That is an awesome end of that story. I love that.
That is a good end.
That
See, I
is
thought
super cool.
halfway through there, I thought we got like redemption arc grandpa, where like
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh yeah, I worked with a lot of black guys. Like it's cool
Yeah,
now."
it's fine.
And then it turned again, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh
Right.
no, so close."
Their true colors always shine through.
Like, I mean, I can definitely give mad respect for like having to break out of essentially what is a like racist cult and like relearn a lot of behaviors. Like, that's a big deal, but to still keep that opinion is very interesting. It's interesting that that's what stuck with him after like starting to work with black people and like, oh yeah, I actually do really like these people and I don't want to have to be like a part of the Ku Klux Klan and have that part of my like identity.
Yeah,
But we can't mix races.
Oh,
That's a big one.
That's where
That's
they
a
all
big
draw
one.
that's
the
no
line.
bueno.
I mean, as somebody who's in an interracial marriage, it is like crazy the amount of looks that you get, and still to this day, I mean, I remember there being an old lady behind us in the grocery store who literally wouldn't stop staring at us and kept like leaning over to her little bitty friend who was with her and just whispering and like staring at us, and we knew exactly what it was for. We were in the middle of a bunch of white people area, and they're all freaking out because there's this little white girl with a Mexican boy. It's crazy.
Listen, Gertrude, it ain't the Dust Bowl anymore. We don't need to think like
Yeah,
this.
period.
It's wild.
The cool
It
thing
always-
is that all those people are getting older and they're all dying and they're having their little deathbed confessionals, but it's deathbed. So see ya.
yeah.
Take your shitty opinion with ya.
That is absolutely bonkers.
It
I
is
cannot
lovely to
believe
see
this.
like this person really did make a point that like they have broken away from this. They have used this to learn and grow as a person and understand it don't need to be like that.
Yeah.
So there is
seriously.
I hope this person has like 20 beautiful black men boyfriends
Yeah.
all
at
at the
once.
same time. They're in a poly relationship
yeah.
and they're happy. And Grandpa's
Yeah.
So
turning over
happy.
in the dirt.
That would be beautiful. That would be like the beautiful like Cinderella story at the end of this. It's like, yes, I have 20 black partners now. See what you have done to me, grandfather.
And then they all just go and dance on Grandpa's grave.
Aw.
I love
it's
that.
beautiful.
That'd be cool. They have like a little drag show or something there too. Just really fucking seal the deal.
A little bit of cabaret.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Oh
love it.
man, if you got Grandpa talking about trans people, oof.
Yeah. Really dig the knife in. Now they're in a poly relationship with exclusively POC trans people. Put a whole bunch more acronyms in there.
And we're all communists. Like,
And they're
just keep-
communists.
and they're pagan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we got such an interesting start to these series of episodes. I cannot thank our listeners enough for sending us in some of these stories for us to be able to talk about and to definitely not make fun of grandfathers and dance on their graves, even though we literally just talked about it. But no, I am very excited to see some of the large cases that we are able to discover along the way. Some of the juicy, more public trial-related ones potentially for next month's episode. So hang on in there, guys, and we will be back next month to share a few more juicy deathbed confessionals with you.
I think that was the most empathetic I've ever been toward a racist. So really, I think I deserve a gold star for that one.
Yeah, you get like a...
We'll get a little ice cream after this as a treat.
gold star.
That will be all this week on Mort Mike. Connect with us on our socials at Facebook and YouTube at Mort Mike Podcast. And if you have any suggestions on topics you'd like to hear about or burning questions you have about death, shoot us an email at mortmikepodcast@gmail.com.
A huge thanks to Joey, our dedicated studio gopher, Marson Music for our theme Deputies of Death, and Macklin Legan for our custom icons and banners.
Be sure to tune in the first Thursday of every month for more casual discussions on death. Thanks so much for listening. This has been Mort Mike.
Bye.
Bye.